We're previewing game 2 between the Celtics and the Heat, what each coach said his team has to do different, and is that even possible? It's right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Bean Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the Seeds game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all Seas Nation. Rain and Jace, how we started, raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts all throughout the playoffs. Just never know when they're going to drop. Maybe 2 a day. Maybe someday I'll do 2 podcasts in a day. I know, crazy, right? But make sure you're subscribed so you can find out. Get the show dropped directly to your device. Get there on the YouTube page, get into the comment section, and let me know what you think. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long while ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today, it's a full show preview, full game 2 preview. Did not get the crossover that I was hoping for. Now we're going to do it after game 2 between us and Locked On Heat. So hopefully the Celtics are up 2-0. So when I go down to Miami, if Miami fans are going to hate me anyway, which they do, I might as well just soak it up, right? If you're going to be the heel and just lean into it. I got no problem being the heel in Miami. So let's see how that goes. Later on, basically the whole show is going to be a game 2 preview. I'll get you both coaches and all of that stuff. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. So I'm not going to talk about the Caleb Martin thing. That's done. That's over. It's run its course. Jayson Tatum practice. He's fine. No lingering effects from the fall. Nothing weird happened. So he's fine. Joe Mazzulla doesn't think it was intentional. No one on the Heat side obviously thinks it was intentional. Caleb Martin was like, I didn't mean to do it. I was pushed. So whatever. It's fine. It's done. I stand by what I said. I think it was maybe a little bit on the reckless side. I don't think it was dirty. I don't think he meant to clip Tatum out of the air, but we're moving on. Now, does that mean something's going to carry over or not carry over into game 2? I don't know. Maybe it will. I think the Celtics, if anything, if you really want like a little bit of a spin on that, if anything, it might actually be good for Boston that happened. Considering, like, I only say that because Jayson Tatum is fine, right? But he's fine. He got up. He's pissed off. Jaylen stepped up and said something to Caleb Martin. Porzingis said something to Caleb Martin. So it was a little bit of a team building thing, a little bit of a, guys have their, we have our guys back and all of that. So that's cool. That all happened. And you know what? Gives them a little juice, a little something to watch for heading into this game 2. Maybe gives them a little reason to play a little extra physical in game 2, because they know that, hey, they can say to each other, look at what Miami brought. And they did talk about this kind of stuff. When they're at practice on Tuesday, they were talking about, well, yeah, we were conversating about the physicality. If they are aware, like, this is what Miami's going to do, they're going to play hard. They're going to dance on the line of what's acceptable. They're going to have us have that debate. Miami fans are going to be like, that wasn't dirty, and Boston fans are going to say that was. If Miami wants to toe that line, hey, you know what? More power to them. I like the physical basketball. I like getting into a battle like that. I want to feel somebody, when I'm playing. I'm not a proponent of, like, I'm not I like physical basketball. I just leave it at that. I like that. And so if the Celtics can kind of like get drawn into that a little bit and have that side of them come out, I love it, because that's what the playoffs are. The refs are going to swallow their whistles. We saw that at the end of the Knicks Sixers. We saw that at the end of the Nuggets game, Nuggets Lakers. So don't expect the refs to bail you out of anything. Go out there and play. And if Miami comes and hit you, great. Take it, hit them back, and let's ball. So I'm fine with kind of how this is all played out. Nothing more than chirping. And frankly, it gave the guys on Locked On Heat something to rally around because they got to make fun of Brian Scalabrine for a couple of segments, which is great. Good for them. Like, I would do the same thing. But moving on, I think what the Celtics are going to have to do is bring that physicality, make sure they're bringing that physicality and that mentality here. And it goes to what Joe Mazzulla said after the game, where I'll read his quote. You can see it on the YouTube page. When he talked about doing stuff better, he said, better is just doing what we did with higher intensity and higher physicality. I think that's what game 2 calls for. I think the first adjustment is to do what you did with a higher level of intensity, a higher level of physicality. I think the first step is what mindset, what physicality we're coming in with. Okay, if this was a drinking game and you had to drink every time the word physicality was said on this podcast, you might already be dead 6.5 minutes into this podcast. But that is clearly the buzzword heading into game 2. That is clearly what Joe Mazzulla wants. And I think baked into that quote is not, we have to adjust to what Miami's going to do. We have to bring these things and do what we did in the first game, do them as well, do them better, and be prepared for Miami to play at a little bit of a different speed, to be prepared to have Miami play a little more handsy, play a little bit more with their arms, play a little bit more with the pushes, play a little bit more with stepping into you, grabbing you, impeding your progress, and making sure that you can't just cut without being hit. Like, that's if the number one thing for Miami, if I'm Spo, forget, and I'll get to what Spo said about his adjustment in the next segment. But if I'm Spo, I'm looking at my guys and I'm saying, Boston got to where they wanted without feeling us. Boston got to their spots. Boston cut. They rotated. They relocated, and they didn't feel us at all. So when they do stuff on offense, they have to feel us. They have to feel an arm, an elbow, a body. So the timing is thrown off. You can't just let a team like Boston, with the offense as good as it is, just get to where they want to go without anybody getting in their way, without anybody making them think twice, or at least throwing the timing off. So maybe a couple more passes get thrown out of bounds. Maybe guys aren't where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be. So if I'm on the Boston side, if I'm on the Boston bench and I'm Joe Mazzulla or on his staff, I'm thinking that's the number one thing I'm expecting. I'm expecting Miami to step up, and like, Joe's into jiu-jitsu. I'm expecting Miami, instead of uniforms, to come in to this game. You might as well be wearing gis or boxing trunks, get in there, and instead of a jump ball, it's just a wrestling, just grapple. So and I think that's what playoff basketball should be. So what Boston has to be just immediately aware of is go out there, match it, hit them back, and be ready to, and don't get caught up in it, be ready to match it and roll with it. So that's step one for Boston. Now let's look at the Miami side, because it's Miami that has to make the adjustments. Frankly, Boston doesn't have to do anything any better than they did, except play a full 48 rather than 43 or 42 minutes, which was fine. They won by 20. I'm not making a big deal of it, but that's the only thing they have to do. But Miami has to make a change. We'll talk about what Miami's change is going to be and what Spo said it would be in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. Mother's Day is right around the corner, and you can surprise mom with DoorDash. You can use DoorDash, especially if you're somebody like me who's traveling and I'm sitting here thinking, oh yeah, I love my mom and I almost forgot that Mother's Day is here. If you forget, or if you just want to use a tool that's available to you like DoorDash, which we all use, we've got DoorDash drivers know exactly where my house is, that's for sure. You can surprise mom. You got flowers if she's into the flowers. Does she have a sweet tooth? You can get candy delivered. Is she into tech? You can get gadgets delivered, self-care essentials. You can go onto DoorDash. Everything is there. You can see it's not just food, right? You can order your DoorDash, your food. When you're ordering dinner, order something for mom. It's right there on the app as well. And it's everything. And it just shows up at her door. So that's going to be great. There's a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fees, do apply and terms apply. So get all your Mother's Day gifts in one place and get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's Locked On NBA. So order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Today's show is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. am a competitive guy. I know I'm a competitive guy. My wife makes fun of me for being competitive. I remember specifically when I've gone to a competitive endeavor with us and some friends, and I was turning around like mumbling. I could hear people talking about how competitive I was. And this competitive side really is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I know you've heard of it because it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you can play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. And the best part, messing with your friends. That's always the best part of anything. If you can mess with your friends, charge them rent on the iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. You can also heist their vaults, so get riches for yourself. And leaderboards, we all love the leaderboard, show you who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. And it's not just your competitive side or my competitive side that's going to love it. You can team up with your friends too, and people around the world in timed tournaments so you can earn huge rewards. Get in the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go, get it free on the App Store or Google Play. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Ditch Fox Sports, ditch ESPN, ditch the fake contrived arguments and go to the people that have real meaningful conversations like Locked On Sports Today. It's 24/7 on YouTube. It's also on the Amazon Free Fire TV channels app. So go check it out. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. So I've been talking about Miami's need to shoot more threes. If I'm looking at on the court adjustments that they're going to make, you have to expect that they're going to shoot more three-pointers. And Erik Spoelstra acknowledges that. Here's his quote. I'll read it to you. You can see it on the YouTube page. He said at the team's practice on Tuesday, I understand the math to it. You don't want to lose in a certain area by 30 points. It's probably going to require some balance because we're not going to bring them down to 25 attempts. We're not going to shoot 50 of them. That's not realistic. So where does this live? Because I feel like Miami kind of needs to shoot 50 of them. Okay, they're not going to, right? But what do? The balance that Spoelstra is talking about is knocking Boston's down and pumping his up a little bit, which means a few of their guys, if you've got the early shot, take it. They're probably showing guys like Jovic, Highsmith, just run down like Jaquez, opportunities where they had a shot and they passed it to drive and kick one more time. And what they have to understand from a Miami perspective is the driving kick to you is the shot we're looking for. And maybe over the course of the season, we've been saying drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick, keep doing that until we find our specific shooters. But now we have to expand who's going to be shooting. So I think defensively, Boston has to be aware, a little bit more aware of who's out there, who's shooting. And while they still probably will be like, hey, yeah, Caleb Martin can shoot as many as he wants. Maybe Jovic can shoot as many as he wants. But also, don't just let them sit there and get warm-up three-pointers, because Andre Drummond can hit threes with nobody around him in warm-ups, right? Like anybody in the NBA can sit there with nobody around them and having 4 or 5 seconds to load up. Anybody in the NBA can hit a few of those. So what you don't want to do is let them get comfortable. Now, on Martin and Jovic and some of the other non-shooters, you want to be more in control. It's about speeding them up, right? It's not about actually challenging their shot and flying past them. You don't want them to shoot and then crash and be disruptive. You don't want it to be a 5-on-4 situation. You want to be able to challenge them and recover and still be in there in time to rebound and keep them off the boards. Or if somebody gets an offensive board, you don't lose that guy so they can get it back, right? It's about throwing off the timing, because what the non-shooters, the bad shooters are going to do is, if they don't have time to be comfortable, that's when they speed up a little bit. That's when they're not fully comfortable. That's when their shot gets a little bit off. So the challenge still has to be there. Those opportunities that were funny, where Tatum didn't close out to Caleb Martin, Porzingis didn't close out to Caleb Martin. They just kind of sat there and looked at him and said, nope, all you, go ahead. Those have to be closeouts. But control is the key. If the Celtics aren't in control and they start flying past everybody, then you get, if you watch the end of the Knicks game, the Dante DiVincenzo situation. Now, DiVincenzo is a good shooter, but like what I'm saying is, he took a three, missed. Hartenstein got the rebound, kicked it, but turned around and kicked it back out to DiVincenzo again. Because in the chaos of a missed shot and an offensive rebound, shooters get lost. That's why control is key here. That's why I'm emphasizing closeout, but don't fly past. It's not a flyby. So that's where Boston has to be defensively. Still try to run some of these guys. They're better shooters off the three-point line. Still try to force them into the mid-range shots. Let Bam Adebayo have as many of those contested, semi-contested mid-range shots, because even if he's shooting well, he's not going to be shooting so well that he's going to break a game open. Bam Adebayo is not going to win a game hitting mid-range jumpers unless he gets 30 of them and he hits 25, right? And that's just not going to happen. So the middies, fine, but be aware that Miami is going to try to launch a little bit more. And I know the Celtics actually kind of hate that. The Celtics, the biggest fear, I think, for the Celtics, because this is a math thing, is that you get a high kind of like variance gain. When 30, 40, when 33s are taken, okay, that's one thing. When 40 of them are taking 50, and even if you shoot like 35%, when the volume gets high enough, the numbers are still there for you to be like, damn, this is a lot. These are a lot of points going up, and it can keep a team hanging around. I think Boston would like Miami to not go full bore. I think the best case scenario for Boston would be if Miami said, if Spo was being basically honest and said, we're not going to shoot 50. We can't shoot 50. If they try to get to 35 or 40, that's okay. That's okay. If they get up to like 50, and if they're really just coming down, playing super, super, super fast, then Boston's going to be like, okay, we just better hope they don't catch fire. Because if they do, then there's a chance that Miami can win a game like that. I just don't think they have it in them to play that fast. The one thing I'll leave this segment with is it's extraordinarily hard for a team to play a certain way for 82 games of a regular season, plus 2 games of play-in, plus a playoff game. So now we're at game 85. And then in game 86, have the coach be like, you know what? Pretend you're the Indiana Pacers. Go. Like, you can't do that. That's difficult. And when Spo says that's not realistic, this is why it's not realistic. Because you can't just, it's not PlayStation. You can't just flip your goals and your approach and all of that stuff and change a few settings, and now you're a fast break running gun team. Only a couple of guys, like Tyler Hero will love it, but most of these guys have built the muscle memory of we play a certain way. And even though we have to take a few more of these threes and we'll try, there's a feeling of, oh, close out, drive. And it's harder to kind of adjust at this point. So we'll see what the Heat do. What is Miami going to try to do defensively? How can the C's and their shooters adjust there? We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because they do things like give you, a new customer who hasn't signed up yet, $150 in bonus bets guaranteed, whether your bet wins or loses. If you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and you sign up and make any bet, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets no matter what happens. It's the NBA playoffs. We're sitting here, we're watching. You know, it's a big night with 3 games here. You could have thrown some money down on there, and who knows how it goes. But whatever you put down, that $150 in bonus bets is there for you. And it can be anything. It could be baseball. It could be hockey. There's lots of great sports going on right now. Great time of year in the spring. So check it out. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up and make your first bet an automatic win. And make sure you're using the tools at FanDuel. Set your limits, set your budget, set your goal, all of that stuff. They're going to make sure that you're only spending your disposable income. So whatever you feel comfortable spending for a good time, you can go and set that limit on FanDuel, and you can just have some fun gambling responsibly at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I've talked about it a lot here on this podcast. I've talked about it a lot on social media. I know how good it can be to talk through something, get it off your chest. Could be something simple, something happened to you at work. Could be something a little bit deeper, a relationship thing, maybe a relationship with your parents. Anything you need to talk through, you need to get through therapy. And I know how hard it is because I've gone through therapy. It's been very beneficial to me, but I know I got lucky finding that somebody in an office near me that I clicked with. It was good. I know it's hard for you to find somebody like that. So BetterHelp is designed to be entirely online, flexible, suited to your schedule, right? You can sign up at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA, BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. You can see it on the bottom of the YouTube page there. You sign up there. You fill out a quick survey. You fill out all of the, answer a few questions. They match you with a licensed therapist. So it's right there on your computer, entirely online, suited to your schedule, super flexible. And if you don't click, switch, and you get to the next person, and no extra charge, no nothing. That is what's going to help you stick with the therapy. It's a great way to get some stuff off your chest and feel a little bit better. So start your therapy journey. If you're thinking about doing it, I would highly recommend it, and do it at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. 10% off your first month. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'm doing this before the games start. I'm going to be talking about the 3 playoff games that are on Tuesday night with Jake Madison. It's going to be a lot of fun. But a wild Monday night in the NBA. So I hope Tuesday night comes somewhere close to that, because that was a fun night. So go check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, and you get 2 podcasts from me in this on this Wednesday. So the Celtics, we know that Miami is going to try to cut down Boston's 3-point attempts. So what does that mean? Are they going to be more aggressive? Are they going to be more aggressive blitzing? Are they going to send 2 to the ball, or are they going to single cover? Feel like they might single cover a little bit more. I don't know that they're going to go any zone. If they go zone, or maybe they flip the zone, and instead of going 2-3, maybe they go 3-2. Maybe they encourage Boston to drive. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami flips it and does some sort of 3-2 zone where Bam Adebayo is up high and encouraging a drive, and then the drive in either a drive and kick would be you drop the top guys in the zone into like down into the corners. So if there's a drive and kick, you can either be there to challenge that shot or be there to hop in the passing lane. So I would put Bam at the top of the key point of attack. And if even if he gets blown by, the drives and kicks to the corners, we know that there's going to be a kick to the corner. If those top 2 guys on the side drop down, and then the 2 bottom guys can like pop back up if they need to, they can kind of replace one another there. It could be kind of like an amoeba 3-2 zone that is designed to take away the corner threes. And they're going to have to live with something. If they take away those corner threes, and if it's a drive, and if it's a mid-range shot, or if it's a fadeaway or something like that, Miami's going to be fine with that. Whatever it is, they're going to get creative. Be prepared for Miami to get creative. They like to play zone. So how do you get creative with the zone? You get away from packing the paint. Miami loves to pack the paint. Get away from that. Encourage Boston to drive. So I think the Celtics in the first half might have more success getting to the rim versus getting the driving kicks. Like they might start to focus on, hey, just be aware of your surroundings when you're driving, and just go all the way. Because if Bam is there, just be aware that he's behind you. And if there's no other shot blocker there, then go for it, right? So wherever Jovic is in this mix, go to the other side. So if you're Jayson Tatum at the top and you get by Bam and Jovic is on your right, cross over and go to the left, because whoever's on the left is going to have less of a chance of blocking your shot. And if Jovic is coming over and Bam is coming from behind you, you might be able to draw a foul or something like that. So I would expect early on for Boston to say, if Miami is really selling out or being ultra creative, trying to take away the 3-pointers, then just go to the hole. Just get to the rim and get your 3-pointers by getting to the rim and getting to the free throw line. I expect maybe a first half of more of that, the drive part versus the drive and kick. If Miami does go to their other zone, they're screwed. That's not going to happen. And they're not going to do it against Kristaps Porzingis. And Al Horford blew that up. That's just, I don't think they're going to go to that zone. They might try something different there. I don't know that they can go man either. And if they go man, they might have to just try something different. I don't know if it's late switches. I don't know if they're going to go to maybe last year's game plan of trying to encourage Tatum and Brown to drive and have a late switch and kind of like draw them in and hope to get turnovers that way. Whatever it is, there's going to be some sort of defensive adjustment. I don't know that Miami has much. So keep an eye out for that. Honestly, Boston's talent, we talked about it yesterday, is too good. And if they are taking Tatum away, it's okay, right? If they the game plan from the last 2 years of take Tatum away, maybe draw Jaylen in, he's trying to do too much, that's not as effective because Tatum's like, yeah, sure, I'll just dump it off. And now Derek White is running the offense. Now Holiday's running the offense. And they're running stuff with Porzingis. And if those three are running against whatever three Miami's got, Boston still has the advantage offensively. And when they are getting into the paint and drawing attention, because no team can resist the ball getting into the paint. If Derek, Drew, or Porzingis is getting into the paint, well, who's going to be open? Now all of a sudden it's Tatum and Brown that are going to be out there on cuts or getting lost because someone is sucking in too much and they've lost sight. So either the lanes are going to be wide open for these guys to drive, or the inherent habits, like I said, after 85 games, all of these habits are ingrained in you. So it's hard to change what you do out there on the floor. It's hard to be different. The Celtics are going to test that. And if those habits stick around, then the kicks are going to go out to the best players. You know what I'm saying? So, and my final thought of the podcast is, this is why Boston being so versatile and playing so many different ways and being able to win so many games with different lineups, because they only had 35 games of their real starting lineup playing together, and they still won 64 games. Having those games where it's Derek White is the center point, the focal point. Holiday is the focal point. Porzingis is the focal point. Boston is capable of being pliable, right? That 85 game, or at this point 83 game habit, is whatever the game needs, versus the 83 game habit or 85 game habit of Miami is like, we only play a certain way because we've been constructed this way. They can't play whatever the game needs. So this is much more in Boston's favor. Whatever Miami does, whatever adjustment they make, Boston is in the position to say, oh, you're doing this? Okay, no problem. We're going with the Derek White plan. We're going with the Jaylen Brown plan. We're doing this because Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, whatever it is, Boston has the answer. This is why I think this is a sweep. Not arrogance, not whatever. I just think Boston has all of the answers. However, if Miami fans want the arrogance, I'll give it to you. Whenever we get the crossover, like I said, I'm happy to play the villain down there in Miami in South Beach. I will be there this weekend for the Celtics, and hopefully I'll be there for the sweep, the end of the series, flying home to prepare for, I don't know, Cleveland or Orlando. We'll see. Not even, whatever. It doesn't matter. Right now, it's game 2. I will be here for you after game 2, probably from the TD Garden in one of those back rooms again. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. I will try to do an immediate reaction, a live stream, 7 to 10 minutes of me on Media Row immediately after the game. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. It's not going to be all hype. It's going to just be a quick live stream. So be there with me for that. And I would love it if you subscribed. If you're not subscribed, then do so. If you are subscribed, then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.